Yes, exactly.
It is really weird to be on
very
this side.
excited. Yeah, it is weird for me to be with Suzanne, who is legendary. And as I think of who Suzanne is to people in this industry, she's like that master chess champion. She's so strategic. She thinks ahead several moves, and she knows how to piece things together. So that's why we're going to start, right? We're all here to figure out what's going on in the industry, what's not the gossip, but where you see things going, because you do have this incredible perspective. You connect with so many people, but you're always thinking ahead in terms of what's going to happen. So we're in this state of perpetual change and disruption. What do you see happening as the big shifts in our industry, whether it's M&A, AI? What are the key drivers right now, especially when it comes to M&A and the shifts that we're seeing?
So I still have a pencil and a pad, which is kind of hilarious. I don't think even people know, right? Like we all have the buzzwords like AI and M&A, but like I don't think people have a goddamn clue what's about to hit next year, right? Like we've all been sort of thrown a new sort of curveball, right? And all of a sudden, PR people, companies in this business are now having to figure out the growing importance that government and regulation are going to play in this business, and what's the future of that. So that's going to affect everything from AI to M&A to everything. And I think we haven't even started to think about it. And you talk about agencies not knowing, marketers don't know. If you talk to, not CMOs, but if you talk to the lawyers at the marketer side, they are completely freaking out. And that just tells you, if the lawyers haven't figured it out, don't suspect that your clients have yet either. So it's just more change, definitely.
Well, and you just mentioned government, and obviously we have a new administration coming in, and we're already starting to see some of the changes that may happen and the players that are going to be involved. How do you see that impacting our industry?
I think it already has, right? Obviously, AG in Texas already filed, in another investigation. I think we're going to see lots more of that. We're going to probably see more aggression from all media players on both sides of the fence about where and looking how and where advertisers spend their money. That was, at the discretion of advertisers, right? Suddenly, that's actually a government issue now. So we're seeing, and it's not just X, right? It spreads across many different companies, and I think in many ways, this is ground zero for agencies that haven't realized it, because right now it's all been about, oh, the clients are being sued. But if you really dig and you look, they're coming after the agencies next. And I don't think the business is really prepared for what's about to happen.
Yeah, and that's quite serious when we talk about brand safety, suitability, news, journalism, and so agencies be prepared for what's about to happen.
Yeah, and a consortium is not going to get you through this.
No.
That's the problem with business. We throw consortiums at everything. And it's like, that's not going to fix this. Like, the grown-ups have got to step up and really do something to get ahead of this.
Especially because those have been embraced as a collaboration opportunity, but they're not viewed as collaboration anymore.
No, but they're always like, oh, we have a committee for that, or we're collaborating on this, and there's a work group. And let's be fair, half the problems that we set out to solve for the last 20 years are still unsolved. But yet we have thousands of councils and committees trying to solve them, right? Like, why are we still doing the same stories about ad fraud?
Because we like to talk instead of move to action.
Just do, right? Like, there should not be a committee, right? Like, somebody needs to fix the system. But I think we spend so much time sort of going around it instead of addressing it and somebody stand up. And I will say, like, it's going to be up to the agencies to also stand up, because so many clients now don't stand up, right? I think that's a big difference, right? We had marketers that were willing to stand up, be quoted, be out there, and they are far and few between nowadays.
So what can agency comms professionals do to be prepared for the change and the disruption that is already here, but is going to accelerate in the years to come?
I think it's really about sourcing within your own agency. Too often, PR people, CMOs at agencies, it's all about the fluff, right? Like, here's campaign, like, who cares about a campaign? Find the smartest person at your agency. Because that's what I do, right? Like when people are like, oh, would you meet this person? I always say, who's the smartest person? And make that person your front person. Not like the guy that makes the great ads, or that's great too for everything, but there should be somebody that can speak on behalf of your agency. Because they're getting called, right? Like obviously Group M got called to the Hill, they had to testify, right? Half of the people in this room have somebody at their agency that had to testify at Google's antitrust case, right? Who are those people? And I really think it's an opportunity for the PR people to be involved in those conversations, because you should know your executive ranks and be part of, like, who do we put up? How do we prep them? And that goes for whether they appear before on the Hill, or they talk to us, or they're on CNBC, right? And somebody, like, there's a mantle to be picked up, and I don't see too many people rushing for it. There's a lot of, like, people ducking cover now.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
And you've really seen even the stories that you're covering and what's of interest at the Journal really shift. I mean, you've been there a long time, which is great. And that's what I think is so unique, is that you have that perspective, you have that understanding, but you've had to navigate the shifts for the Journal in terms of the audience. And everyone here is trying to figure out, okay, how do I get that hook? Because what used to be interesting no longer is. And so tell people how they can really get a hook with you, how they can drive that appeal that resonates with your audience these days.
It's really not this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you.
And we have some.
Okay, what does that say on what does that say right there?
She has 72,109 unread emails.
Right. So the good news is, and I was saying this to you on our phone call, it actually is a really great time for us on this side, because suddenly we've changed how we cover. I had stood up at this stage how many times? And I was always different, because I'd come in and be like, I follow the money, right? I follow the money. Well, following the money led us to broaden what we cover, which is kind of scary in its own right? I cover everything from X, which I did, 6 page one stories in 6 months last year, or whatever.
There's a lot to cover.
Then there's Facebook, then there's Google. So the agency part of our coverage, I focus squarely on the money on the media side. And then creative was secondary. It's basically where the money is, right? Creatives don't make the money, it's the media. So we shifted focus there. The good news is we've shifted a little bit back, and more so. And I don't mean creative like it's a campaign. And I feel like we all need to get out of like we have a campaign. We now write for the consumer. And guess what we've discovered? Consumers love brands. And they love stories about creative, not campaign stories. They love stories about how are you selling, but they don't want to read about a brand that they've never heard of. And every one of you have great brands that you work for. So I'll give you an example. Most of our stories are 1,000 words on a good day, 800 words, right? People don't read. I wrote a story recently. It was 3,858 words. And it was the cover of the weekend section. And it was a story on the gummy nerds, right? And it drove so many subscriptions, it was insane. People, like TV people, magazine people, everybody picked it up. Yeah. We cared, but what happened was that story, so they came to me last year and they were like, hey, we have a Super Bowl commercial, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I couldn't give a little shit less. Everybody's got a Super Bowl commercial. And I met with them and they were just talking and I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But I was working on a different story. So I said, oh, we'll pass. So fast forward this year, I was sitting there and I'm like, I got to figure out what the hell's behind this. So I call them and I'm like, I want to do a story. And they're like, oh, well, we're going to do the Super Bowl again. I'm like, I don't care. Right? I'm like, I need you to let me in. And I literally begged the PR people, right? I said, this is what I want. I want full access. And I said to them, this is not a bad story. I'm not going to find some prostitutes. I'm not going to find anything. I'm not going to find embezzling. I want to meet the scientists. They were freaked out. They didn't even know what to do, right? I literally had to go and like bring out jitsu like sourcing to find the scientists because they didn't want to put them on the phone. And it was a slam dunk fun. If you read the story, it's so fun. It's ridiculous. Like even the language we use, they let us go hog wild. The company wasn't used to it. They couldn't get over it. They were like, wait, what? Finally. And then I'm like, tell me, like, I heard there was soggy nerds. And they're like, oh my God, how did you find a scientist? I'm like there's LinkedIn. Like, and if you're not using LinkedIn, by the way, use LinkedIn. It's amazing. So anyway, the whole point I'm bringing this story up is if you go through this story, you have to help, they had to help me make this readable. And I gave them homework. And everyone should be prepared because the way people read now is so different. But we got completion rates that were off the chart because every single space that we fill, there's a video, there's an ad, there's a picture. I made them go into their archives and bring out video. Then we did a video on top of it, talking about the making of it. Like, when you think about what you have, right? Like, it's such a formula that you all follow. And I'm like, the formula's broken, right? Like, that's not a formula. This was... And marketing was in there, but it was like the bottom half. But it was an amazing brand that had a great run, and it really was, people just loved the brand. Like, it's simple. And I'm not saying they're all gonna be that way, right? Like, and in there is the hard stuff, right? In the middle of paragraph 29, right? Gummies are on fire because no candy maker are making any money and they're cheap to make, and like all of that like crap that you have to throw in the story. It's like your vegetables, right? Like, we're gonna give you vegetables. The great part of marketing is you get to eat your vegetables and have fun eating them. And so I like implore you, like, go and talk to your creatives and find out what's the greatest thing that they're doing, the wildest thing they're doing, the one thing, not the campaign, for the brand. And if you look at all the stories that appear on page one, right? Because that's what I shoot for, either page one or the cover of the sections. I say to them, talk to the creative and find the one unique thing that they're doing. Not the whole thing. I don't care what it looks like here. Like, is it a rap video? Is it something on YouTube? Is it something they did with a creator? And that's the story, right? But we're so like, so the 72,000 are, I have a campaign, it's launching next week. They don't get pitched that way. Like, I'll give you one other example and then we can move on. But like, so last year, I only do one or two of the big, I mean, I used to do, people in this room will know, I used to walk around and do about, 40 Super Bowl stories every year. And I used to walk around with the tapes and it was this elaborate thing. Well, guess what? The internet happened, social happened, whatever. Everybody's a judge. We don't need me to judge ads, so I didn't have to do that anymore. So now I pick one story and people pitch them, but I say to them, and they all wait. And now people have figured out, they come to me. So I said, I always say to the person in November, I want the one story. What are they doing? Like, don't pitch me. Call me and be like, off the record, this is the best thing I've ever seen. BetMGM happened last year. I called, who did I call? I called Amy Hoffer, who called you, Amy Sharonis, who called you, and they're like, oh, BetMGM. I'm like, great brand, spending a ton of money. Everybody wants to know more of this brand. So I spent, 2 months talking to them, had, 4,000 words. Anyway, then I got thrown a curveball. They decided, ask the company if we can tell a story in a different way. Take your story and chop it down to 10 slides, and each slide has basically the size of a tweet. It's called a tappable. And if you tap it, it has 10 slides. And the scores are crazy. And do you know what the most, so I had to pick, I had all this material. I'm literally like, show me the pitch, show me pictures of, it was crazy town. And they were sending pictures, I'm like, those are not good. Give me behind the scenes, which is another thing, video and tape, everything. And I don't need to go behind the scenes, but you should be, that's your content. And everybody's already doing that. But anyway, what do you think the number one at the Journal and with the people that reached out on feedback was? What slide did they like the best? Picture. What do you think it was? And keep in mind, this was like that famous one. So there was tons of celebrities in it. It was the storyboard, the original storyboard. Right. People were literally emailing, being like, oh my God, storyboard. I think I saw that on Mad Men. They love the process of it. But those are stories people don't think. They're like, oh, the Journal's never gonna go for that. But they do. It's just a matter of like how it gets presented. And it's not about like 400 lines about the campaign is going to be, and I had everything in the 4,000 word story, but then we just decided to focus and be like, here are the 10 facts you need to know about this thing. And they took guts, right? The company was literally like, I'm like, I need them to go all out. Like, how much are you spending? And then I got the CRO on the phone. He said 50 million. He tried to take it back 100,000 times. And I said, you're spending billions of dollars on advertising. And also then he thought he was bluffing me. I'm like, I've done 1,000 of these stories. I know exactly what they cost. Like, the celebrities only cost that. I'm like, that's not true. Right? Like, they were trying to back down off the 50. But that headline helped them enormously. Okay, so sometimes your board doesn't want to see that.
Right.
But if you walk them through that, because I walked them through it, I said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a freak out. The board's going to ask, why are you And then I talked to them and I said, listen, if you're going to get that much blowback, we can put it on background. We can just, like, there's ways to work around people. We've done this. We all know how to do it. Everybody in this room I've worked with knows how to do it. Anyway, in the end, they were fine with it. And that figure helped them get an amazing traction on a $50 million ad campaign, right?
Well, one of the areas that I think we were talking about, and Annika mentioned it, and she was just giving credit to Roy, about packaging.
Yeah.
And really looking at what people see as trends and then packaging it up for you. And I think the tariff story you did last week was a great example of something happening in business, but connecting it to brand stories. And the more that people can do that for Suzanne, I think it makes it really helpful.
And it's funny because I'll call around if I have an idea and I'll be like, hey, and I did this, I did it for holiday. I called a bunch of CMOs. I'm like, hey, it's a weird thing. People are cutting, like holiday actually started late this year. Nobody really reported it, but everybody held, right? Brands didn't want to be out there because of the election. So I was kind of like noodling at this and everybody put people on the phone, every agency. And I'm like, do not put your person on the phone unless you have an example. And so many people wasted their time and then that poor person doesn't get quoted. Like, you have to give us the paint. If you don't know how to navigate it, ask the reporter, they'll help you. Vonda knows how to do it because years of working, right? Like, Tony knows how to do it because years of working. We know how to protect you and your clients. But you shouldn't be sourcing at your own agency. You should be helping your marketers. You should be sourcing with your marketers because they should have belief. Like, nobody at the companies of the marketers handles their brand campaigns. No one cares. There's comms people, like, they're lucky to even have comms people that care about that. There are people in this room and others that work in this business have made successful agencies out of the fact that they built relationships on the brand side. Jeremy Miller. He literally knows every PR person at Microsoft and everywhere else, and they give him carte blanche to pitch anything that they do. That's how you get ahead, because then when you put the person on the phone at your agencies, I then can use that example. Because a quote, like, I've been sort of let loose. I don't have to quote experts. I am an expert now. Like, most of us who cover the business are experts. So I don't really need that, like, pithy quote. It's great to have one, everyone, but what I really need is the pace to demonstrate the trend. And I think, like, if you do your homework and get to know those people, because you're all great networkers, but I think there's this line that sometimes you don't cross because it's the client, right? Clients are desperate for it. I mean, I'm sorry, how many, like, top 50 CMO stupid lists do we have out there? They want the press. They just don't really have the staff at most of the companies to do that. I mean, I literally call CMOs directly, and they're like, yeah, I'm happy to tell you. And meanwhile, the poor agency's like, I can't really talk about that. I'm like, just let's talk off the record, and we can figure it out. And we get there eventually. Not all of them are going to work out, but you gotta try, because that's the home runs. Like, those are the stories that it's on the cover, it's a real trend, it's really happening. Anyway, that story died on a vein, couldn't get there. Ended up, I was talking to a PR person, and it's the day after the election, and they're literally and I'm like, why am I hearing Christmas music? And it turns out I ended up doing a whole story based on that about people who were upset about the election and decided to put up the Christmas tree, and it ran on the front page anyway. So it all worked out, and the PR people that helped me get consumers for that story. So you get yours eventually, but I think there's just a way of working that will open up a huge universe for people if they just start to think a little bit outside the box, right? Like, charts. like we tell stories with charts. We still tell full stories with pictures now, and it's scary but so freeing.
That's great. I think that's really helpful advice. I want to go to your key takeaway, and then we're going to take questions. All right.
Yeah, it's
right
so
here.
simple.
Feel free to expand.
I just can't, it's hilarious. Like, I'll literally write a whole story, and an agency person's like, can you send me the free link? And I'm like, wait, what? Or they'll be like, they don't even know, like, I'm like, they're like, where did the story appear? I'm like, where did you look? They're like, I looked in the market section. I'm like, we write more of the marketing stories go on the cover of the weekend section, which, by the way, is amazing because you get the most amazing art. Like, that's a great team to work with. If you don't know that, there's reporters at the Journal like that literally will pest me and say, on styles, on life and arts, they're all writing about marketing, right? And you're never gonna know that, never mind not having a subscription. Like, it's so crazy to me when I wouldn't put it up there unless it happens regularly. Like, it's hilarious. I need the free link. I'm like, wait, how do you even know? Like, what? You need a free link? And then they're like, yeah, I think we have to update and they don't even think about it because they're so used to so much of it's free. And now they're realizing, like, no, like, you have to read and you'll find the ends. And I will say and the reason you're seeing this, and that's why I said I would do this, is because we have really shifted. Yeah. We have a new editor-in-chief, Emma Tucker, and she is all about the consumer and pleasing her. And it's so amazing now to be able to write with like flair. Like, it's not just the numbers, right? Like, and I have a beat that like lends itself to us. We all do. Like, CMO, we're allowed to put in, I did the Linda Yaccarino profile with comparing her and Elon, and I get to put in 10 anecdotes about like her at the spa and paying for like Calavi, and usually I get one anecdote in. They ran all 10 because people are fascinated by business, but you just have to tell it in a really consumer-friendly way. And there's nothing more friendly than marketing, right?
So
like, it lends itself to really good business stories. So we can have our vegetables and have fun too.
Sounds great. All right, Anne.
Anyway,
so
I
let's
bet
put
people
up
have a lot of questions for you.
There's the QR code. So first question, how do you anticipate AI will affect the way journalists, PR professionals, and agencies work together?
Well, I think it's going to affect the business. I think we're all delusional if we don't think so. I don't think you have a clue yet. I don't think we have a clue yet, but we're going to see a massive disruption. We're basically like internet, pre-internet, post-internet, we're pre-AI. And I don't mean AI, I mean generative AI, right? And that's the bookmark that we'll have. In terms of how we work, we don't use it for stories. We're not supposed to. There's lots of fundamental rights now about like who's suing who, about what the free content is, but we are, as you, told to use it in our everyday practices. We're experimenting with it. I think they were training it on to test doing obits, OBOT we call them. It's a great starter, right? It's just how the creators are using it too. We're doing the same thing. The problem is, because of copyright, we have to be careful about what we put in there. So there's never a story that I'm working on that's going to go into that. So I usually I'll use it for email or whatever. So I think that's it. In terms of PR, I've already noticed there's tons of AI generated PR pitches. I don't read half of them anyway, so I don't get to see them. But I just started. In fact, we were going to do a story about them because they're really bad. But honestly, did we really need AI to disrupt that model? If you're sitting around writing a 2-page press release, you got bigger issues. That's my opinion, right? Really bigger issues.
Okay, we have time for one more. Where do the issues of DEI sit at the Wall Street Journal?
I think it gets written about probably once a week, but if you're sitting here thinking that it still exists, I think every company's pulling back. I would say for this crowd in particular, I think it's more of a purpose conversation. Buried, dead, DOA, it's over. And I don't think the agency have got the memo yet. Every marketer is hiding under their desk, sadly. Yeah. It is beyond belief hard to get anything through. The problem is this business has been built on it to win awards, and that's a hole and a vacuum that needs to be filled with something else. Hopefully there'll be a bounce back. I don't see it right now. I talk to CMOs every day, and that's they're literally hiding under their desks.
Well, on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne.